Welcome, everybody, to our fourth QI on the Fly web meeting. If this is your first web meeting that you're joining us for, welcome. We hope you enjoy this format. And if you are returning, thank you for your time today and helping us to make this web series such a great success. My name is Ashley Koster. I'm an E-QIP Program Manager, and I'm joined today by several of my colleagues. We've got Debbie Bang and Nosha Badegeni on the phone, co-directors of the E-QIP project. We've got Laura Daly-Trottier, who will be facilitating today. I'll introduce her a little bit more formally later. And we've got Alice on the phone, as well as some of our other coaches. So welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and very much looking forward to our webinar on experience-based code design today. We just go to the next slide. So just a quick orientation to the functions of Zoom. In the bottom left, you'll see a little microphone icon as well as a video icon. This is to control your mute, like your sound, if you want to speak at the end of the presentation or show your camera video. We are going to be posting this on our YouTube channel as well as our website. It's not recording the gallery view, but just something to keep in mind. It's definitely your choice if you wish to show your image or not. And if we could just go to the next slide. And in the bottom right, you'll see the little thought bubble. This is the chat function. If you do have a question throughout the presentation, we ask that you do type it in the chat. We have one of our E-QIP team members monitoring that, and we'll be able to address the question. We do ask that you use this function if you have a question as opposed to using the audio, just to avoid a lot of extra sound in the background. If you have any questions about Zoom, just pop them in the chat now. I know a lot of people are using Zoom, but recognizing that some folks, this might be a novel platform. Don't think I see anything there. So today's learning objectives for our experience-based co-design themed web meeting are to learn about the many ways experience-based co-design can help provide a deeper insight into your client and tenant OPOC responses. This is the Ontario Perception of Care tool, a provincial tool that we're looking at right now. We're also hoping to learn more about how to virtually use experience-based co-design or EBD approaches in an expedited way, particularly relevant for the time that we're in now. And lastly, to consider how EBD activities can lead to co-designing the service delivery chain within your staff, clients, and tenants. Go to the next slide. Okay, so today's panelists, we have Alice Strom joining us. She is the Quality Improvement Integrated Care Specialist at Ontario Health. Alice has worked with the E-QIP project for a long time, and we're very pleased to have her co-facilitating our webinar today. And of course, Laura Daly-Trottier, my beloved colleague and an expert in this particular area. She's a quality improvement coach with the Excellence to Quality Improvement Project, and I know many of you have had the opportunity to work directly with Laura before. So just go to the next slide. So here, this may be familiar to some of you. On the left, we have our model for improvement. And here we're looking at the measuring and understanding your system / developing and planning solutions where EBD would fall in, looking to see what changes we can make that are going to result in improvement, and how do we know that client change is an improvement. And with experience-based co-design, we're incorporating the client voice in a large way, which is really, really important. You want to base your QI work around the client and tenant voice. And on the right, you'll see a template that the E-QIP team has developed just in the last couple of months. This is our QI on the Fly template, which is a different riff on a project charter that helps you sort of organize your thoughts on your quality improvement work that you may be doing in the time of COVID, and just capturing that work in a nice template that you can share and reference back to in the future. Just go to the next slide. Okay. So in webinar number 3, we shared our thoughts about what you want to know about your client and tenants' experiences with your service. We learned how to use the new OPOC scoring tool and how easy it is to input client and tenant responses to a few OPOC questions. We had the opportunity to consider your data story, and we shared ideas about how to gather client and tenant responses at your agency and consider the pros and cons of each. Go to the next slide. Great. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic to Laura, and really looking forward to enjoying the rest of this webinar. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ash. Appreciate that. Yeah, so thanks for joining us today. And this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I really enjoy working in the sector, using this tool to help identify the root causes of a particular improvement initiative. And so hopefully I'm just going to give you like a high-level thoughts and utility of this tool in the next few slides. And then Alice is going to spend some time with us showing us some really creative ways to use our virtual platforms to do this type of work. We'll give you a bit of a teaser. So we'll get started. So this image is just to say that there are 3 different ways to do quality improvement. One where we listen, don't listen very much to our users, and we do the designing. And the other being that, you know, where often we are is listening to our users and then getting that feedback and taking it and designing something to address the issue. And then the other one, which is where I really prefer to be, is, and not often, we're not always able to do this, but when possible, listen to our users and then go off with them, shoulder to shoulder, to do that redesign of the new process. Oh, sorry. And when we think about different ways to give the client voice, something that you can hear, we often receive information via complaints, information that you know, our service users provide to us by way of comments, and then we do collect information via surveys, and patient blogs and web-based stories are also a way for us to understand the client story. And then consulting with and advising from, receiving advice from our service users is another way to have that client voice. And then where we have staff and patients working together, or staff and clients working together to design services, that's where this experience-based co-design kind of lands. So this is a methodology that, a toolkit that was developed by the NHS Institute for Innovation and Improvement. An experience-based co-design approach that enables staff and clients or other service users to co-design services and/or care pathways together in partnership. And the approach is different to other improvement techniques. And it also aligns, as Ashley pointed out earlier, very well to model for improvement. It focuses on the patient and the staff experience, and uses emotions rather than attitudes or opinions. The approach uses storytelling in addition to the emotions to identify opportunities for improvement. It helps to empower staff and clients to make changes. There's a lot of, you know, I heard somebody yesterday saying that data actually ages people really well. And so this type of data is very engaging, and we'll show you a little bit about that as well. And the other thing that I really love about this tool is that it's adaptable to any environment in any context. And so when we're thinking about the perception of care and applying experience-based design to it, we think about, for example, question number 16 on the OPOC tool. It says, if I had a serious concern, I would know how to make a formal complaint to this organization. And we know in the sector that this is something that comes up quite a bit. And often we think, oh, I know how to do this. I know how to fix this problem. I know how to make this low score better. And you go off and you, for example, you may put a complaint box or have an envelope that they can put complaints into, and you tell them about it. But really, if you were perhaps take the time to understand that experience of actually placing their thoughts in a way that helps them tell their story about their experience and the complaint of their experience. Maybe there are some barriers to them feeling comfortable even just making that complaint. Will it impact the care that I receive if I place this complaint in this way? And so the only way to know that is to actually figure it out with them, help them understand, give a voice to that and provide that understanding. So the customer or the client's perception is your reality, and taking the time to figure that out can be very helpful. Oops. I'm struggling with my my mouse here at this end. My apologies. It has a bit of a skip in it. So I'm moving forward faster than I can speak. Yeah, and on this slide, really wanted to point out is that surveys themselves don't indicate what needs to be done to improve any situation. Further commitment and ingenuity are needed to understand those shortcomings of an organization and their service and develop those solutions that will address that. And several key studies demonstrate the connection between client perception of care or satisfaction surveys and changes to the way services are delivered, creating a link from the client feedback to that quality improvement. And so if you add in the OPOC with the experience-based co-design and then linking that to quality improvement methodology, you have a really solid foundation of change and making those changes. But we do know that surveys are not enough. The data coming out of surveys are not specific enough. There's less time and resources sometimes to conduct these type surveys, and not knowing what to do about the survey results is also something that we note. And there's some connection here too that can be made in relationship to the OPOC. And we collect that information and we see a lower score, and trying to figure out what to do with that information. And sometimes our data literacy, the quality of the data can also play impact in that. And also important to think of information from a health equity lens. And so on this slide, what we wanted to share with you, just that, if you're thinking of adding in experience-based design, the pieces that I've highlighted in the orange are really those pieces that are really important about those things that are really great about experience-based design, and that is that tells stories about the experience. It gives you the opportunity to do a deeper dive and actually do some observing perhaps of the process that they're experiencing. There are emotional touch points that can help map people's experience through emotion through a process. And the co-design part of this work is really the golden nugget where staff and clients or tenants go off together and do the redesigning. And again, using a health equity lens is also something, and really understanding who is responding to these surveys is very helpful. And so there are, the part of the toolkit that we're going to focus on today is around capturing information. And there are a variety of methods for capturing the client experience. One of them is through depth. And there are a number of tools within the depth that you can use. So interviews, shadowing, observations, filming, photography, storyboards, and diaries. And those are, very, that's where you do the deeper dive into the experience. And the breadth is a larger number of people are surveyed or participate in things like emotion questionnaires, focus groups, and observation. And so I'll just of some of those capture tools, and we're looking here at the still photography and film, and it's a very powerful media to use to tell a story. And when we think about using film and photograph, asking people to think about, if you're going to be videoing somebody, to have them tell their story, allow them to lead the subject with open questions, giving them thinking time, so making sure that you are not speaking too soon and giving space of silence to allow them to prepare their answers. Practice that active listening skills, and let them express their emotions without trying to solve the problem for them. And remember that the telling of a story is a powerful experience. And I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to tell a story that has meaning for you, and you have an active listener. It is a very powerful experience, and you come away feeling heard and appreciated. The other one is observation, which is breadth and depth, both breadth and depth. And the thing that I really love about this image is that although you're looking through the binoculars at something that's really interesting to you, oftentimes if we were to take the binoculars away and look around us, or hear from others around us, open our ears and listen, we might hear that there's actually a bird sitting on top of our head and not sitting on the branch in front of us. So taking the time to really open up our senses to hear what's going on and understand what's going on around us. And storyboards are also a breadth and depth tool. And the point that I wanted to make here is that literally seeing how your clients interact with your services can really provide new insights into better user experiences and opportunities to improvement in priorities or organizational priorities. And so a storyboard is a real visual way to better understand your client's experiences, and it allows you to imagine even the smallest details and better identify potential pain points and anticipate emerging needs. And storyboard in a virtual way might be very challenging in thought, but I'd be interested to see if it's some creative way that we could do a storyboard in a virtual setting. Food for thought. And then this slide, this is my last slide before I pass it off to Alice. But in this slide, we wanted to show you emotional mapping, which is a very common tool that's been used from the experience-based design capture tools. And really, it's about asking people to complete an emotional mapping survey or questionnaire, as it provides that simple approach of capturing feelings and with experience or a process. And I really like this tool because it's one of the ones that can be really nicely modified to adapt to your own context and your own environment. It can be used by both staff and clients to identify their own experience of delivering a service to and receiving from. And the visual display of those positive and negative emotions clustered together can help identify those areas of improvement. And the other piece that I wanted to just flag here is to remember to conduct the staff and the client emotional mapping experience on the same process, so that you are collecting the same information, and combining those two pieces together can be really valuable. Now, I'm just going to, now that we have that high-level understanding crash course on experience-based design and capturing tools, I'll now turn the session over to Alice.
Thanks, Laura, and thanks for that great overview. So in your heads, you're probably thinking right now, well, that's all well and good. And, you know, those are the things that we used to do. And, you know, it looks like this working virtually and not being able to get together in groups is going to last a little longer than most of us were asking for. So how do we do this now? And I'm going to tell you, it's the exact same thing, only different. So I am going to walk you through one way today. It's a little bit of a teaser for QI on the Fly number 5. And I am going to, on the next slide, you'll see, I am going to, obviously because it's the platform we're on today, show you something that you can do in Zoom. I don't own shares in Zoom. I wish I did. And you may be using a completely different platform. But because we're on Zoom today, I'm going to show you something that you can do in Zoom. Same with our QI on the Fly number 5. I'm going to show you a few things you can do in Zoom. If you don't use Zoom as your platform, then I hope it just encourages you to poke around the platforms that you do use and see what ability might be there, and think creatively, think innovatively about ways that you can still continue to engage with your clients, your tenants, your consumers, in order to be able to co-design with them, even though we are physically distant right now. So on the next slide, let me take you through a little bit of an exercise. Now, let me say a couple of things about when you do things virtually, for those who haven't tried to do this yet. One of the things that we all know as good facilitators, and I know you're all amazing facilitators, is that we need to embrace and appreciate silence. And that just because people don't immediately respond or immediately do what we're asking them to do, sometimes that's just because it takes people time to process. Sometimes it means we have perhaps not been clear enough in our direction. And sometimes it just is. People just need time to physically shift into what you're asking them to do. Same thing on a Zoom call, but of course, or on a virtual call, but of course the silence feels ever so much longer in that virtual environment. But I encourage you to be patient, think about your pace, and be okay with silence and being slow. It's hard to be slow right now because everything else that we're trying to do is happening so quickly, but I encourage you to be slow. So I'm going to ask you to do some things, and I'm going to try to be really slow so that you can play along with what I'm going to ask you to do right now. So what I want you to do right now is for you to rename yourself. And for those of you who know how to rename yourself, go right ahead and do it right now. And I want everybody to name themselves Mickey Mouse. If you don't know how to rename yourself, as those of you who know how to do it are off being speedy, I'm going to walk you through the steps. So if you click on the participants icon at the bottom of on your toolbar, and you actually click on that participants icon, it will bring up the whole list of participants. Ash, if you can click for me, I can see who knows how to do it because I see the Mickey Mouse is starting to come. You will see your own name in that list, and beside your name, you'll see a button that says rename. And if you click that, it'll bring up a little box. There it is. And you will be able to rename yourself. And as I said, I would like to ask everybody to rename themselves Mickey Mouse for right now. Some of you may also know that you can do this just by clicking in your name on the bottom left-hand corner of your video box. So let me have a look at our participant list and make sure that we're all made up of Mickey Mouses right now. We got lots of Mickey Mouses. Excellent. Excellent. Give you a minute to do that. Now, what I'm going to show you, just as those of you who are continuing to change your name here, is a way of being able to collect data, qualitative data, data from your clients, tenants, consumers, in an anonymous fashion. So what I'm going to show you works when you don't need to know who said what. Because obviously you're all Mickey Mouse, and I'm going to say that, you know, 100% of the Mickey Mouses said this. That won't tell me anything. But it will enable me to get a reading from the group. And I want you to think about the other situations where you've been gathering data from the people that you work with, the people that you serve, and think about in which situations and in which interactions did it not matter that I knew who said what. And those are the situations where in a virtual environment, by using this anonymous Mickey Mouse, you can still gather that kind of information. I also want you to think about that even in some large group meetings that you may have been having, if you did a focus group, you sent people off into small groups to work, and you asked them to give you some input, and you took that input back and you debriefed it in front of the whole room. Even in that scenario, although people would know who said what, in the end, the data that you're getting is actually anonymous. It's not confidential, But unless in some way, shape, or form you're transcribing all of that and keeping track of who said what, and bless you if you are, because that's a ton of work, you still are getting anonymous data because you are not ascribing each comment. It's not confidential, but you're getting anonymous data. And so, you know, there's a lot of advantage to getting this anonymized data. But be careful about then thinking about the enormity or the size of the response rate based on the fact that you may not be able to tell who said what. So if we can go to the next slide, I can see most of you are Mickey Mouse now. We're going to find out what Mickey Mouse thinks today. Remember what I just said about pace and slow? Sometimes Zoom will do this to you.
Yes.
The little blue circle of death. It's not a blue circle of death. It's okay.
I'm glad you can see that.
Yeah, it just decides that for a moment you weren't using it for a moment, and now it's going to just take its time. But it looks like it's ready to play again now. I'll let you go forward. And you know, when you're facilitating in a room, these things, excellent, these things happen, right? When you're facilitating a room, these things still happen. They just seem easier when you don't feel like everybody's eyes are on you, but actually they are. And really in this environment, a little less pressure if you think about it. So if I asked you to type your response in the chat box for what best represents how you feel today, and don't press enter yet. So Mickey Mouse, you're going to tell me whether you're feeling A today or B today, but just put it in the chat box and do not press enter. And I'll talk about why I did that in just a minute. Okay, let's see how Mickey Mouse is feeling today. I want you, if you can put your chat box up, and I want everybody to press enter. And as you see in the chat box, the answers all come in a rush, in a row. The reason for doing that, and this is a fairly simple A or B, but if you were asking people, please tell me the best thing that this program does for you. Sometimes some people, and some of us will admit sometimes we are some people, will wait to see what others have said before they put in their answer, particularly if their name is attached to it. Maybe not if they were all Mickey Mouse. And so by asking people to hold their answers, you are not influenced by what other people said. So as an example, if I was feeling A today, I could sit back and I would see, oh my gosh, look at all the B's. Oh, wow, what is wrong with me? I feel A today and everybody else is a B. I'm probably gonna press B. And that's actually not what we're after. We really want, in sort of this very small example, for you to truly tell us how you feel today. And so by asking you to hold your responses so that when I say enter, they all fly into the box, then you aren't swayed by what anybody else has said, because you can't even see it. It goes by so fast you can't even see it. Zoom saves the chat. So when this meeting is done, I could go back in and I could tell percentage-wise how many of you said A and how many of you said B. So if I needed this data to help me to problem solve something, I would be able to go back in and get the numbers and begin to quantify your qualitative response to my question of how you feel today. And so, it's important to do that. Now, what we have to be careful of is making assumptions from here, obviously. So we think very carefully about the questions that we're answering. So, just because everybody or the majority, just from my quick glance at it, said B, doesn't mean that you're necessarily all feeling really good and that this webinar is the best one you've ever been on and that's why you said B today. I'd like to make that assumption, but I really can't. But I do know that it does give me a chance to get a general read. Good question, Mickey Mouse. Do you have to be the host to view the saved results? Yes, but it does come in a text file that you can change, you can convert to a Word document, so you can actually use it to analyze the data. But just like the recording, when the Zoom closes, it will send you the recording, and then there will be another file there, a TXT file, and that will be all of the Zoom chat, actually. that that you would use. The chat can also be shared with others. Yeah, and you could, if what you could also do is, if you worked in concert, like Chris is a really good backup on these webinars. I could, while I'm chattering away here, I could have asked Chris to count the A's and B's. And then I could have said, so Chris, can you share, I could have, done my little song and dance to waste time. And I could have asked Chris, Mickey Mouse Chris, to tell me how many A's and how many B's. And it could have come back, and perhaps we wanted to build on that. Perhaps we wanted to find out more about the B's.
I thought it was about a 50% breakdown with a 5% margin of error. That's my...
Your very quick analysis.
That's my analysis.
That's your ANOVA and your p-value analysis of that. Thank you, Mickey Mouse. That was not a Mickey Mouse analysis, by the way. So,
a question for you, Alice. A question for you from me. Looking at the bottom of the chat box there, there's a icon that says file. Do we all have that, or just some of us? And what happens if we were to click on that? Is that where we can? Any participant can actually capture the content of the chat box? Is that what that's about?
No, that is where you can pull a file from.
Okay. It doesn't convert the conversation to a file, for example.
No.
Okay.
No, not in Zoom. Yeah, not in Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah. And thanks for the comment. There are also polls in Zoom. A lovely segue, because guess what QI on the fly number 5 is about? I'm going to show you a whole bunch more ways that you can use Zoom in order to be able to still gather information from people in this virtual environment. And polls is one of them. And I'm also going to show you how you can take that data and turn it into some visual graphs as well, just so that, this is qualitative data, yes, but you can, how you can actually turn it into data. And thanks for anyone can save the chat locally by clicking. Oh, that's good
if you put your mouse on the 3 little dots and you right click, you'll get an option that does say save chat. So
nice.
Presumably it goes, you can maybe direct where it's saved on your computer or laptop and for future reference. So I think that's something that we all have access to, because you may be involved in a webinar where there's a tremendous amount of content or questions that you just can't process at the moment, and you can go back for review later.
Right. So, and it's saved to the downloads file. Thank you. I thought only the host and co-host had that box. So that's excellent information. Thank you so much. It would be the public chat and not the private chat. Yes. It only saves the everyone. However, the host gets all of the chat. Yes.
So be careful what you say.
Yes. Always be careful what you say.
About whom?
About, yeah. So thanks for playing along with that. That was just a very quick little sneak peek at what we're going to do in webinar number 5. We also, in number 5, are going to hear a real life example of some virtual data collection that has been happening since our COVID-19 pandemic. So just to sort of validate that we're not just talking something that's theoretical here and lovely rainbows and unicorns. This is something that we can actually do. So thanks for playing along. I'll turn it back to you, I think, Ashley. Oh, Ashley, you're on mute. Oh.
Am I?
There we go. Now you're not.
Oh. Okay. I think Rishi was going to do the outro for today.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
No worries. So at this point, do we have any questions for Laura and Alice?
By the way, one thing I should mention is that some Zooms, when you changed your name, it will assume that you want that to be your name from now on. Yes. So just have a quick look the next Zoom call you go on to make sure that you're not Mickey Mouse. Some convert it back to whatever you had used before, but some keep you Mickey Mouse, so just be careful.
That's already happened to me at least once.
Yes, because we played with this and we were Mickey Mouse once before.
So a question from Mickey Mouse, what evidence-based designs do you use most often, Alice? Or Laura?
And Laura, I want you to respond as well. I'll kick it off. It's one that I'm actually going to spend some time on in QI on the fly number 5, and that's emotional mapping. I really like it as an add-on to process mapping, or as an overlay to process mapping, and I really like it in terms of one of the things that I like to do in process mapping, which is now kind of my plug for the next series of webinars. It's going to be on process mapping. I'm doing a great sales job today. Is because it helps to identify what I call pain points, in like literal pain points in process mapping, when you ask people about how it feels. Boxes and arrows don't tell you how things feel, and so I really like that overlay of emotional mapping. Laura, how about you?
Yeah, I share that oftentimes in our work with E-QIP, the project teams definitely are gravitating towards the emotional questionnaires, the emotion questionnaires, to find those clusters of emotions that identify, as you say, Alice, those pain points. And then what I'm also noticing is that once they have identified those pain points, they may not have all the information they need. And so then they gather a group of people together to do some focus group work, to drill down and get to the root causes of those pain points. And I think that those are the two more highly used. I haven't seen much in the line of film or photography or storyboards, but it is intriguing and would love to see that used as well. But yeah, emotion questionnaires and focus groups tend to be. And the other one that I think is very powerful is actually the observation, when people go out and observe the process that a person experiences as they, perhaps report back on that emotion of that experience. And going out and walking in their shoes, I think, has been also another tool that has been used. And it's a very simple tool, but yeah, very, very, very impactful. Good question. Thank you for asking. Yeah, the Gemba walk. Thank you, Rishi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a comment for you, Alice, in the chat box. Maybe you could, I think when the slide comes up, just maybe a little bit more promotional detail about the process mapping webinar that we're planning for July and August, and that it's essentially the same one being repeated to capture everyone who may be on or off from work during the summer months.
And for those of you who may have attended the earlier webinar on root cause, we're going to follow the same kind of process where my dining room wall this time is going to become a process map, and we're actually going to walk through the way in which you could still process map virtually, and you'll be able to then layer that emotional mapping piece that we're going to talk about in number 5. So a nice connection to a number of things that you can continue to do. And I think the more that we get used to this virtual environment, the more that we begin to see how actually effective all of this can really be. And I don't know about you, but there's a few things that we've begun to do on Zoom, even just from a family perspective of connecting and those kinds of things that we're going to continue to do, regardless of what the rules say. And you may find that with a lot of these techniques that we're talking about as well, that there may be some things that in some environments you are going to continue to do, because they may actually, your call, but they may actually work better for you or be more effective for you, at least at one point in time. So I'm thinking in particular of how hard it is sometimes to coordinate getting a bunch of people together and the travel to the setting and all of that kind of stuff. Well, maybe, depending on the questions we're asking, this helps with some of those logistical pieces.
Just a reminder for everybody, there was a question in the chat box just a moment ago about where someone might be able to access the first 3 and this and any subsequent webinars, the recordings of those webinars. And so a reminder from Ash and Debbie that E-QIP website is the place to go, the destination for the recordings and the resources, right, Ash? The resources are available there, any kind of documents, attachments, slide decks, things of those nature would be available on the E-QIP website. I think it's easily navigated to the QI on the Fly series, right? Ashley's just putting some directions there for everyone to see, guiding them to the website and for future reference.
Thanks, Chris. There are no more further questions. If you can switch to the next slide. Yeah, thank you, Alice and Laura, for the wonderful presentation, and I hope everybody had a good time learning about the experience-based design. So we have a follow-up, as they mentioned, next week, Tuesday. It's after lunch. It's 1 o'clock. So please do join up for that webinar as well. And these are the subsequent ones in July and August for process mapping. How to create virtual process map during this period, and there'll be a hands-on session with Alice as well. So please do join, and if you miss the first one, there's an opportunity to hear back in August as well. So save the dates.
If you want to see if we really walk the talk, you could join both of them and see how much I improve from July the 15th to August the 19th.
You mean it won't be a recorded version of you?
We're going live. We are going live.
Okay.
So here are the resources that you will be getting. So all the registered participants today will receive in your email shortly, today or tomorrow, with the links for the experience-based design template that Laura mentioned, and also the QI on the fly template and other resources. So look forward in your email to see those resources. And this is our great website that folks were asking about. Where can we find information about the previous recordings and other materials? So it's the e-QIP.ca. That's our E-QIP website. Please also join the community of practice to hear about from other members in the sector, how they are performing and how they are encountering problems and challenges. And it's a wonderful opportunity to discuss various QI. And as well, we are on Twitter and social media, so please follow us and also read our tweets. It's our handle is @equip_on, and subscribe to the updates so to get frequent news about the upcoming series. So next slide, please. And we have a YouTube channel where you have recordings from all the previous webinars, not just now, from previous years as well. We have a model for improvement webinars. There is 9 in total, I believe. They are short, half an hour in, so you can take your pace to watch them all at once, like binge watch on Netflix, or at your own pace, one at a time. They are hands-on experiences from our various coaches over the years, from different cases from projects. Do subscribe to our E-QIP news that gives about a very hands-on news about what's happening in the sector with various quality improvement projects and the news. Join our mailing list. We don't, so it's very informative to hear from other agencies about the QI work. And look forward to hear you and join you for the next session. So next slide. And last but not the least, you will receive in the follow-up email a link to the survey. We do appreciate the feedback that we receive, because that's how we can improve. We are in QI, and as Laura mentioned, surveys are one of the measures, but yes, we do value your input. So please do take a moment and give us your honest opinions. Again, thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for playing along, Mickey Mouse.
Okay. Good day, everyone.